Relocation with a strategy. I realized that in the last couple of years, there has been a mass exodus of Nigerians, not just Nigerians, but Ghanaians and Africans generally.
Yeah.
People relocate without a strategy. They relocate without thinking about the return on investment.
So relocation has always been a way where Africans find greener pastures. Relocation has more so been like an emotional thing. Nobody's thinking about the strategy. It's almost like because this generation, the trend is like a big thing. So something that is trending, we don't stop to think, we just follow.
Welcome to Conversations with SDA. It's a platform for everyday people where we have discussions around finance, business, and career. Anything that moves the needle in your favor. Literally helping you move from stability or survival to financial freedom. On today's edition, I have Ella. Ella Ayonronmi is the founder and CEO of Aturbridge Coaching and Consulting, a company dedicated to empowering female entrepreneurs with the tools, strategies, and resources they need to build profitable and sustainable businesses. Through Aturbridge, Ella also partners with organizations to deliver industry-led training that bridges the gap between efficiency and productivity in the workplace. With over 2 decades of experience in corporate Britain, Ella brings a wealth of expertise from her background as a business consultant and compliance specialist within the financial services sector. Today, she combines a strategic insight and passion for impact to help women and teams thrive in business and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, Ella.
Oh my God. What an intro. What an intro. I was like, when is this going to end? But you did so well. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Welcome here. Right. We're just going to jump right into the conversation of today. Mm-hmm. Relocation with a strategy. And why did I come up with this topic? I realized that in the last couple of years, there has been a mass exodus of Nigerians, not just Nigerians, but Ghanaians and Africans generally, looking for greener pastures. And there is this mindset that the grass is greener on the other side. Mm-hmm. So people relocate without a strategy. They relocate without thinking about the return on investment. Mm-hmm. So I want us to talk about that angle of return on investment. So I want to relocate as a fresh graduate. Return on investment, what does that mean?
I think it's funny because both of us, we have finance background. So every time we're looking at things, we kind of look at things like what is your return? And you're right. There is a lot of relocation. And I think that what happens in this generation, because relocation has always been a thing. I don't think it's this generation that has made relocation such a big thing. Our parents relocated, some of our parents, went to America, some went to Europe. So relocation has always been a way where Africans find greener pastures. But I think what it is with our generation is, like you said, relocation has more so been like an emotional thing. Like nobody's thinking about the strategy. It's almost like because this generation, the trend is like a big thing. So something that is trending, we don't stop to think, we just follow. And I think that's what the problem is with the relocation. It's not so much the act of relocation. It's how the trend and 2025 living has made relocation very emotional, that we're almost not thinking about where we are going, but we are more emotional than thinking, okay, this is what I want to do. Can I stop and think? I think that's where the problem is.
Okay, so just to take it up from what you said on thinking about where you are going, right? Vis-a-vis thinking about who you are and all of those things. So back to that first question I asked. I'm a fresh graduate. I'm interested in relocating because everyone around me is relocating, right? What are those things, more like a KPI, that I need to set for myself? What are those things I need to look at before I take that step?
I think what I always say to people is, you're a fresh graduate, you're working somewhere or you're doing something else and you feel like I need to get into another phase of my life, maybe not in my current location. I think the first thing that you should do, like every step that you take, whether you're changing careers, whether you want to get married, whatever big step you're doing in life, you always stop and think and say, how do I approach this? And if you don't already do that, then we already have you're already on your way to failure, because you should stop and think first. So I think the first thing is to write it down. I want to be in place X. But before you get to X, you need to be able to navigate your way there. There's some certain things that you need to do to get to, let's just say you want to relocate to Britain. There's some certain things that you need to do to get yourself to Britain. So why don't you start by saying, what do I need to get to Britain? And then once you've figured that out, then your strategy you work your way backwards and start saying, okay, if I need to get to Britain in a year's time, what are the things that the requirement for me in my current position? Because where I am at and where you're at is very different. So my strategy should be different from yours. So I shouldn't have the same strategy as you, because I could be doing something else. I could have a family, might not have a family. So the first thing I would say is, what is your strategy? You have to sit down to say, what is my strategy for the next 1 year, 2 years, 5 years? Because if you're relocating, remember, you're starting all over again. So you can't just jump in. You have to jump in with a little bit of common sense.
Okay, so let's take it a notch higher, right? Someone that has graduated, now currently works in the bank, has 5 years of experience, and the person is now interested in relocating. What would you say the person needs to do to prepare himself or herself for that opportunity, so that you don't relocate and find yourself in a field that you are not even interested in? You're just doing it to put body and soul together, like we say it here. So what would be your specific advice to that person?
So I think the first thing is, you've already said, I work in the bank. I've worked for 5 years. Now, you have to think about it. I put in my business head now, it's the persona of the person. Because do you have a family? Are people depending on you? Do you have dependents? If you are going by yourself, you've been at the bank, you work for 5 years, and now you personally, you don't have any dependents. That means you don't have a wife, you don't have kids that are depending on you, that you probably need to move with, or you need to support whilst you are there. So your first strategy is to figure out, what is my 5-year plan? So I've worked in the bank for 5 years.
Yes.
And now I want to go to the UK. Is it possible that I go to the UK and stay at my current level? Or am I going to move 2 steps backwards? So before I even say that I am going to embark on this journey, I need to figure out, what is it that would make me stay in that field that I am on? So that means you have to do some research. So if you've worked 5 years in the bank, you need to figure out, do those 5 years account for 5 years in Britain? If not, then you need to put more years into your strategy, because now you're going to start from the bottom. And if you're okay with starting from the bottom, then okay, in the next 5, 6, 7 years, I'm going to be building this career in my field, but I'm going to be starting at a lesser place. So you're getting prepared. Emotionally, you have to be prepared. Financially, you have to be prepared. But then you have to think about, what is my return on investment? Because if you think about the length of time that it's going to take you to settle in that country, or in the United, whatever country it is, then you're on your way to strategically entering that country. Because I hope that you know that leaving where you are to somewhere else, you have to have a return on investment.
I agree.
And we'll talk about what the return on investment is. But for now, your strategy should be, I have 5 years experience in my pocket, but do those 5 years experience, do they account for 5 years in UK, in the US, in Spain, whatever country? Because it might not be. So that means you might need to bridge that gap.
Okay. So you have over 20 years experience working in Britain in the financial services sector. I am a banker in Nigeria. I have 5 years experience. I'm interested in finance. I still want to be in that field when I go abroad. I want to relocate to the UK. What are the specific things that I need to do?
Okay, I think it would depend on which part of the sector you're in. So let's just say you wanted to follow my path and you wanted to be an investment analyst. If you're not an investment analyst in Nigeria, or maybe you're an investment analyst in Nigeria, first things first, there are regulations. Regulations in Nigeria and the regulations in the UK, they're not the same. So you have to figure out, how can I take the FCA exam, which is the Financial Conduct Authority exam in the UK, and other regulations depending on where you want to start from. If you want to go into customer service, maybe you wouldn't need to go through the certification. You would just start from the bottom. But with 5 years in operations or compliance or within investment banking, the first thing you need to do is figure out, what do I need? How do I make my 5 years equivalent to even if it's 2 years in the UK? And the only way that you can do that is to take the exams. So first of all, you need to figure out, can I go to FCA? Can I go to the investment banking? There is one for Securities and Exchange. There is that exam. If you're able to start with a certificate, because it starts with a certificate, then you can go to a diploma. But the first thing that you need to do is figure out, I have 5 years in Nigeria. Definitely your 5 years in Nigeria doesn't account to 5 years in the UK. You would need to take some certifications to get you up to even 2 years in Britain, so that you can start as, you might not start as a graduate, but you might start as a trainee. You might start on a entry level. So your 5 years might not necessarily count, but you would be in the same industry. But the more that you take the certifications, if you start with certificate, you will grow quicker.
Okay, so what about taking an MBA or a master's degree? How does that? In the UK,
doesn't help.
Specifically, it doesn't help?
Not if you're going to financial services.
Oh, okay.
Your master's, your MSc makes no difference. Because what happens in financial services, it only works with experience. So your experience count, and the certifications that you have, because it's heavily regulated, people wouldn't employ you because you have an MSc. They wouldn't employ you because you have an MBA and you do not have any UK experience in financial services. Unfortunately, that's just how the industry works. You would have to find a way to get into the system, to be able to understand the regulations, to be able to be in compliance with either being a regulated person that's giving advice, or you can take my path. You know, if anybody's heard my story, I started in financial services as a paper girl. I didn't start as an investment analyst.
What's a paper girl?
Well, I started filing papers. So,
like clerk.
Yeah.
That's what we call clerk in Nigeria.
Yeah. So basically, when I finished university, I didn't get the grades to go into the graduate program. I missed it by 2 marks. But you can't talk to a computer to say, hey, computer, I missed the grade by 2 marks. So can you tell the HR that I'm still a good candidate? So for every time that I applied, I didn't get in because the minimum was for you to get a 2-1.
Oh, okay.
So regardless of what your extenuating circumstances are, the computer doesn't know. So I started in financial services by going in through an agency to be the one that files the paper for the team.
Okay.
So I filed the paper for the team for a few weeks, and the Nigerian in me said, why are you not reading what you're filing? So I decided on week 4 to open the file to look at exactly what I was filing. So, and when I read it, I was like, actually, I can do the job. Do you understand what I'm saying? But because that was not what I was hired at, I have to prove myself. So I had to go to my manager and say, hey, Paula, that was my manager's name at the time. Because luckily for me, the team that I was filing the papers for were recent graduates. So they were my peers, but it's just happened I just didn't get the grades. So filing those papers, and I went to Paula and said, I can do the job. And Paula said that the job requires, you to have a degree in blah, blah, blah. And I said to her, yes, I do have a degree. And I have a degree in economics and finance. And she looked at me and was like, you have a degree? I said, yes. And then I told her the backstory. But now to see the difference is, I got in
You got in.
to speak to somebody
Yes.
to be able to give me that part.
Opportunity.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Understand.
It's the same thing. If you're relocating and you want to go into financial services or whatever industry, you have to think about, how do I get in? You might not get in the way or in the position that you were in Nigeria, but your strategy should be getting in, because when you get in, you can navigate your way round. You can move department. You can, learn things and be like, okay, maybe the way they do investment in Nigeria might not be the same as they do it in the UK. It might be more fast-paced, or you might be in a department that you don't quite like. And you, just by being in, you'll be able to figure out, the stakeholders, and then you start moving. But the first thing first is, like I did, find a way to get in. And what can you do? I always say, what's the least resistant way of getting in? So if you think about it that way, and then my manager gave me a chance, and 4 weeks got me to be starting my career as an investment analyst. But I didn't start in the conventional way. So if you're relocating from Nigeria to Britain, you're not starting in the conventional way, because they're two different markets.
I agree.
So the whole point of what we're saying is, have a strategy for where you're going. And in your strategy, you have to do research. And in your research, you have to have some kind of humility as well, because you're a branch manager here, it don't mean your branch manager you can be branch manager in the UK means you're going to be working, cashier work, But if you want to work in the proper investment bank, it might mean that you might need to go back a step. You might need to take the step and go back to entry level. Oh, it means in my time, the way that people got into investment banking, they went through IT. So you become a project support, and you're able to get into the bank. And then whilst working on those projects, because you will work on regulatory projects, you can still be taking your exams on the side, but now you're inside the system, you can work your way around. So for you who is outside, I think the thing is, relocation should be a strategy. It shouldn't be based on emotion. Whatever we're saying now is pointless if you don't think about it as a strategy. If you're just thinking, I just want to get out of Nigeria, then you're going to get into Britain and just, survive. You're going to get into Britain or wherever it is, US or whatever it is, and just survive. But you don't want to survive, because sometimes the people here, they're doing okay. But I don't know that they're doing okay, because people who go abroad, they sell you a very, very false narrative.
I agree.
They don't tell you the struggle. I tell people that living abroad is a cult. You never, it's like when you're in uni, when your friends are doing big things and you don't know where, the power that is behind the big things, but you just say, you like it. And then one day they say, let's go for a hangout or whatever. You don't know where you're going. And then you get to the meeting. They say, these are the certain things that you need to do. And then you're like, damn, I'm here now. I need to do big things. So It's the same thing. They never tell you what happens abroad. When you land, it's like, these are the criteria for you to succeed, for you to even leave. And then you're like, okay, what do I've left where I am. I've sold everything, my shoes, everything. I can't go back. I can't go back.
No, but I can never go back.
Yeah, you can't, exactly. You can't go back. You can't go back. But you're here. And nobody's telling you. So you have to figure it out. And that's exactly what happens when Africans go abroad. But who says that? Nobody says that. They just say, just come. Guy, just come. We are making it.
All right. So another thing I want to also bring up is two people in a family. You are the breadwinner of the family. Maybe the husband is the breadwinner and the wife. The husband is well experienced. He has over 15 years experience. The wife is the one that is just coming up. Maybe she has 3 or 4 years experience. The husband is in an industry that has potentials. Talk about financial services or engineering or oil and gas. While the wife is maybe in customer service. Right. This is just a description. It's just me forming an example. It's not to say that the man is above the woman and all of those things. Right. So that's the dynamics of that family. And they want to now relocate. The husband who has more years of experience under his belt. What do you think their own strategy should be? Because what I've seen is someone that has more experience will now go and be the one to apply for student visa and become the student who is restricted. You can't work more than 20 hours and all of those things. What would you have to?
Bad move. What you've just said, it's the reason why a lot of Nigerian families struggle. It's this notion about the man being, the person who should go the forefront. Like I said to you, we've already started by saying have a strategy. If you sat down with your partner and said, hey, I think it's time for us to move country, you should sit down and think, who is the right person to lead this charge? If I have more experience, this is why I said do your research. Because if you do the research and you figure out that where your wife or your husband's path is the place that will give you a little bit of a soft landing, you'll be stupid to say because you're the head of the family, in quote, you should go. Because
soft landing. What's soft landing in that context? A
soft landing is the fact that if one person's career or profession, it's where they can get a job that pays you above 30,000, whether it's dollars or pounds, then why shouldn't that person be the forefront and let the other person gain the skills whilst you are working to be able to give all of you a soft landing, meaning you're able to afford things. You're not under pressure, financial pressure. But remember, you've sold everything here and the exchange rate is not the same. Like it's, today's exchange rate, naira, pounds, naira, dollar. It's a bit of a thing. So you want to pad yourself a little bit because when you're moving, you should have at least 6 months. 6 months of money, funds, where you don't have to think about the government. And that your 6 months should include your childcare, if you have kids, for your food, your transportation. Like if someone is going to school, you have to think about, how they're going to school, like everything, your bills. So that you can have a little bit of a cushion. You're not so much in how do I put it? You're not so much under pressure. It's a new country. You have to learn, but you don't want money to be part of your learning. Do you understand what I'm saying? So in that situation where you've talked about husband has more experience, working in a more favorable industry. Wife, not so much. She's still building. Why should the husband shouldn't be the one going to school? You have the experience. You have the favorable industry. Don't think, oh yeah, I'm going to Princeton. I need to have my certification as the man of... No. Be the one to be the dependent, because the reason why I'm saying that, because as a dependent, you can work on restricted hours.
I agree.
Your wife is going to be restricted. So let her be the student. Because at the end of the day, they're still going to look at the family funds. So you're still the head of the family. Don't worry about that. Nobody's taking that away from you. You're still the man. But in this sense, the migration man doesn't know that you have a strategy. But you as a family know what you're doing.
So the wife becomes the student.
The wife becomes the student. The husband becomes he's the breadwinner. But the visa man doesn't know that the husband is still playing the part of the breadwinner, because I don't want to be restricted. I want to be able to get into this market, because you see, the husband can take short courses, professional courses that will make him have a smoother entry.
Because of the nature of the industry that he has experience in.
Because of the nature of your industry, you can take short courses that would, push you into the industry. But the wife, if you were the dependent, or if you were the one going to school, you have 20 hours. Nobody's going to employ you in your industry for 20 hours. You would need a part-time job. You can't do a full-time job. It means you can't work in your field. You're going to have to do a restaurant. You're going to have to be a bar attendant. You're going to have to do
healthcare.
Exactly. Healthcare. Be a carer. You're never going to work in your industry. Especially like if you were like a branch manager or whatever, you've built up a lot of experience. So whilst you're studying, you can't do that. You have 20 hours, because that industry, that profession needs people, they need someone to do it full time. So you now become at a loss because no one is moving. Well, wife is over there doing her job, customer service, able to work 100 hours or whatever, as long as she wants. You understand? The pay can't carry the family. You probably paid your fees in installments. So the next installment is coming. What are you going to do?
I think this whole conversation is just bringing me back to the starting point of thinking through things before you make the move. A lot of us don't think, because there is this thing in Nigeria where you feel that I'll just rough it anyhow. And all of those things.
Because that's our nature, isn't it? Because we hustle. It's our nature. We do it. Like, we don't say you can't do it.
So some people, this fees is maybe £20,000. What they could afford to pay in advance, maybe 10, they were able to afford 50% in advance. They don't even know where the balance is coming from. But they think that once I get there, I'll be able to work, and pay the fees and all of that. So brings me back to opportunity. What's that word? Return on investment. What should your return on investment look like if you're relocating to, say, the UK or Canada or any other country? What are those markers that you need to look out for?
Let me first say, when you're going to the UK, you don't have any return on investment. If you think, yes.
Why?
I know. It sounds weird, but your strategy should also be my migration path. Because I hope that you know that you're investing into your fees are putting into the economy. What are they giving you back?
In the UK. So they
Wherever
don't give
you're
me
going,
anything. They're not giving me anything.
You have to think about it. What is the government going to give me back for this heavy investment that I'm putting into the economy? If you don't think about it like that, then I'm afraid you're on a lost cause. Because then you don't have any focus. But if you think about it, okay, I want to go to X country. I have Canada, I have the United Kingdom, I have somewhere in Europe. If we go here, we spend $50,000, pounds. What do we get? After 5 years, we would get permanent residence. Okay, good investment. Let's see what this one has to offer. Okay, we spend all in total, the fees, my working, because even working now you're still adding because you don't get anything back in return, as in on visa or whatever it is, no benefit, nothing. Okay, you move to Britain and then you spend £50,000. So calculate your £50,000. That's the first year. Your school fees, your rent, your food, just your family. Let's just assume that you're man, wife, family of 2 kids. So you spend 50K. Your first year, it probably would be more. So that's year 1. So think about it. In 5 years, what is exactly? Just think about
50
how much
times 250K
times 5. Well, at year 5, what are they giving you back in the UK? You still restricted. You haven't gotten to a place where you can, come and go. Oh, you have to renew your visa for the whole family.
After many years?
You would have to, regardless. Okay, let's just say you started student, you paid your fees, and then you got 2 years post-study, if it's still available. If it's not, then you're looking for someone to sponsor you for the work permit. So let's just assume that, Faith, you get the work permit, you get 3 years. So you're now 4 years, right? You spent 4 years, but you are not on the path to any less restriction in terms of your immigration thing. So you would renew again. Let's just say your company keeps helping you. You renew again for another 3 years.
7.
Yeah. Have you calculated how much you've put now into the system? Right. At what point are you going to get your indefinite stay? And at what point are you going to get the passport? So maybe you're looking at 10, 15 years. Well, depending, because I don't know now. Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years to get the indefinite? Could you have gotten a passport in Canada in 3 years or 4 years? So you have a higher return on investment here. You're spending less. You can start building without the worry of, I have to go and, if you were patient enough at the start of the journey to arm yourself and equip yourself to sit patiently in that pool, but because you want it to go abroad so much that you forgot that the return on investment here, it's in 20 years. But what you have here is 3 years, 5 years, and possibly 6 years over there.
Get it now. So from what you have said, the return on investment, one of the return on investment could be non-restriction.
Yes.
What are the other ones? Other return that you can think about?
Once you're non-restricted, then you can think about like, okay, I want to be a homeowner. Now you're infusing yourself into the system. I want to, I want to, invest. I want to run a business. You're able to like. I hope you know that when you have no restriction, you're now a little bit more relaxed.
True.
To think, okay, what is our next move? Also, if you are a young man and a young woman, you just got married, then you want to think about your children. What exposure do you want to give them? Because some places, if you don't have that not restriction, then your child doesn't get a full citizenship and all of those things. So you have to think about, and I think your biggest investment should be, I should be able to get the passport. That should be the number one. Why am I going to spend 15 years, 20 years somewhere and still have to go to the visa office and pay £5,000? It's bad investment.
The other way on that, getting passports, could it also be that if people stayed back and maybe work their way up, have a lot of money, build their own financial muscle, you can actually go for citizenship by investment. There's some countries now that would, maybe the information is not just there for people.
But you spent money here. Why didn't you wait and do it over? Like, do you understand what I'm saying? If you're not thinking, if your strategy is to, for the next 20, 30 years, be on an relocation path, then that's fine. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's fine. And if that's your strategy to be like, I don't care if I go to England, they might not give me stay right now, but I can build myself. But that would mean that you have to get a really good job that will sponsor you. Oh, by the way, the higher you get paid in the UK, the more your taxes. So your strategy has to be, do I have a business? Like, your strategy has to be top notch if that's where you want to go to, and your investment path is to buy the passport. Because I believe it's nothing less than $100,000 to buy a passport anywhere.
Yes.
So what is the time I'm going to use to make that $100,000? I don't think it's that 5 years where you're trying to think about the next 3 years to go and pay home office.
Okay. All right. So now, a word of advice. You're a consultant. You're a coach. Right? Someone that has missed it. Someone in the UK right now, in the US, in Canada, anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Right? You relocated because of emotion. Now you know that, and you can't go back because there is nothing to go back home to. Not only that you cannot go back home because there is nothing, but because of the fear of what people will say when you go back home. So that person is now there abroad right now, struggling, what would you say? What's the path? What can that person do to at least have a good life abroad?
I think this is a question that is very specific. I think the first thing that one of the things I didn't mention was your mindset from the start. Because your mindset from the start really shapes how your journey would be. If you have a mindset of strategy, ROI, and I move, then you would have a better chance of pivoting if you need to and being successful. If you had a strategy of we go, then we go. When we get there, you would be, we go means whatever is happening in the community, that's where you're going to go. Menial jobs and things like that. Now, if you're already in the system and you're somewhere and you're thinking, I might have made a bad turn, right?
Yeah.
What I would say is, it still boils down to the same thing. Sit back, write your new strategy. So I'm 2 years now in Britain. I am on the post-study work route. You have to think fast. So in my current career, what can I do to get the experience for where I want to go? Because most of the time when you're in that situation, you're not doing maybe where you're not in the field that you want to be. You're probably doing some menial jobs, and that is taking long hours. I think one of the things that people don't know, that investing in people who are investing in someone who would show you what to do. Please, I'm not talking about TikTok consultants or people who are gone abroad and they're now consultants. Don't do that.
Because everybody is a consultant
please don't
on TikTok.
do that. You have to exactly know your path, because when you're going to whoever you're going to, i.e. if you are a business analyst and you just happen to be doing care work now because you did a master's degree in business, international business, because you thought that would give you a business analyst job, and you're working in the bar now, and you're doing a part-time job, and you're on the post-study and you're thinking, I don't know what to do. What I would say is to start looking for certifications that you can take to get yourself into the IT industry. Now, there are different ways of getting employment in Britain. You can either get a permanent job, but you can't because you're visa restricted. But you can work via an agency. The only thing with working via an agency is that your pay is not consistent for a long period of time, i.e. your contract might be 3 months, contract might be 6 months, but then you would earn more than somebody who is on a permanent job, but then you can't get a permanent job because you are restricted. So my advice would be, what is now your strategy? Because you could be working in a field that you can crisscross to Canada or somewhere in Europe that has a lesser restriction, but with your British degree, you have a little bit of edge over there. Unless it's your grandfather that said you must die in Britain, then you remain there, or you must die in the US, or wherever you are that you're struggling with, right? But I want you to get back on the path of, again, strategic move. Where is going to give me the return on investment? Now you might have money because you're working shift, but can you use that money to invest in yourself and invest in somebody who would tell you the path to get into the career that will give you more? Because outside of Nigeria, it's your experience that counts.
Not your degree.
No. You might go to, you can have 10 degrees. You would not get anywhere because people, your counterparts that in that country, like the British people, the white people, some of them, they don't go to school. Most of them don't. They don't have degrees. What they have is experience, because at 16, the system and the environment allows them to do apprenticeship. So they walk their way from apprenticeships to doing trainees. Then they start doing the job. Then they move up until they become directors. But when they hire us, or when they bring us into the country, or when we come, we think we're going to bamboozle them with our MSc. But when you go for interview and you come with your big MSc, and this boy that doesn't have a degree comes with his 20 years experience, what do you think they're going to hire?
Experienced guy.
So why is your strategy not thinking, how do I get into the industry so I can start building my experience? One of the things that I hear a lot, or even when I was hiring in Britain, is when we do interviews, we say, do they have UK experience? If the answer is no, even if you were an MD in Nigeria, they dropped them a little bit, and said, let them have UK experience. And then, because things are done differently. How you interview for a job here in Nigeria is different from how you interview for a job in the US. You have to learn all those things. So that has to be in your strategy, your relocation strategy.
So relocation is not play.
No, it's not by we go. It's not we go. It's I go. Meaning you go, I go, because your
strategy is different from mine.
That's right. So if I say revelation. I'm going to go to the UK and get money is not anything. I'm not looking for anything in the UK. That's great because I can afford it. I will go there, do the degree. Maybe, if it's a career that allows me to, or nursing, something like that allows me to work in the hospital. Now, if you're to go to another country, you have an edge because you came from. So there's certain things that there are advantages of where you are going. It all boils down to the same thing. Did you think about the place, does it match your strategy?
I think you've said a lot. Like, I'm trying to digest it myself, and it's a lot. It's a lot. So let's just tie this up and round up, right? So, maybe there is something I've missed out. The question I'm supposed to ask that I didn't ask. Just, I want to give you the opportunity to talk to someone in Nigeria, a youth, 23, 24, 25, because that's the place a lot of people are right now. A lot of people are confused. They don't know what to do, right? Whether to be here, and they see a lot of people, and their friends that are relocated keep showing them the blue skies, how things are working abroad and all of that. What do you have to say to them in conclusion?
I think in conclusion, for me, as the church girl that I am, wherever the sole of my feet is, there I will try. But it doesn't work like that if you don't give God something to work with. So don't go stupid and expect that you get you can fast and pray as long as you like. Nothing will happen. Right. That's the first thing. The second thing is know what you want and have a mindset of, I need return on investment. If you have that mindset, you would make it anywhere. Because everything at the forefront of your mind, whatever move you're making, you're thinking, is this in alignment with my return? Now, your return on investment might be, I want to get a passport. Mine might just be, I just want to have good light, light is running, water is good, bus is coming, because some people don't tell you they relocate and they're running after the bus. Trust me, it's the same as here. It's just organized chaos. Do you understand what I'm saying? So everybody's return on investment is different. Figure out what yours is. But I hope that your return on investment is to get something back for the capital that you're putting. But if that's not your thing and you just want, NEPA doesn't take light, you have water and that's all good for you, then that's fine. Let your ROI be, I want comfort. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I might be doing menial jobs. I might be, it might take me 20 years to be able to get into, comfy. That's okay. I just want to be able to, go out in the morning, come back. I don't have to worry that there's no light. But remember that all of those things, all of those convenience come at a cost. There is nothing that is free outside of Nigeria. In fact, some certain things that you do are compulsory. If you do not do it, you go to jail.
Like what?
If you don't pay your council tax, you go to court and you get fined. And if it's really, really bad that you don't pay, there is the penalty is also imprisonment. So think about that. If you have children and where we raise kids in Africa, very different. So think about the social services, like the impact of your kids. So if that's all you want, you just want stability, better, and I'll take it slow. It takes me 20 years, that's fine. Takes me 30 years, that's okay. You get there. But if you're a sharp guy, or you're like me, I need to see, I need to move because the world economy is moving. I want to have a business. I want to do that. So my thinking is like, I put capital in. When are you going to give me something tangible that I can, work with?
All right. I wanted to round up, but I think it would be a disservice if I don't ask this last question. You worked in the UK for 20 years, over 20 years. You are back in Nigeria. Why?
See, I think I get this a lot. I remember when I wanted to move or was thinking about Nigeria, because I didn't used to think, I grew up in the UK. So I didn't think about moving to Nigeria. It wasn't in my cards as well. My husband used to, but I would just shut it down immediately. And I think it was having kids and getting, there's a certain point in children's lives that you realize that the system over there doesn't ground a child. And I wanted my child, not my children, not just to experience one part of life. I live in the US as well. I don't want them to see that things handed to them. I wanted to toughen them up a little bit. But I also know that there's money in Africa. If you want to build a business, if you want to grow something, a business, like it's actually better to start in Africa.
I agree, 100%.
I don't think a lot of people think about that because when we're in Africa, we think that the grass is greener on the other side. But somebody once told me that if your money, if you can fund your lifestyle from Africa to other countries, then you're rich.
You're rich. I totally, 100% agree.
So when I started to think about that, and I thought I've been in this country, like the salary great, everything was good. But I was trying to think as an entrepreneur. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because the more you earn over there,
the more you're taxed.
The more you're taxed. And you don't have a work-life balance. So having to work in the city for that long, and I had young children, there was always having to take permission. Like if the child was just, you would take permission. The childcare, you do everything yourself.
I don't understand that. You have to take permission from who? For what?
From your boss. If your child was sick.
Okay, yeah.
I don't just sit at home and say, my baby's not well today. I'm not going to. It doesn't work like that. I would have to ring up and say a day before or even 2 hours before and say, hey, my child is sick. I would need, if the child was sick for a long enough, I would need to bring some medical thing in. I can't, it doesn't, there's a process. So thinking about all of those things and thinking about the lifestyle that I wanted, that was and also what the lifestyle that I wanted for my children and how I wanted them to have a solid foundation, because I know that once you get the foundation here, and you can excel anywhere in the world. It's true what they say. We Nigerians, we don't carry last. It doesn't matter. It might be rough. We'll figure it out in the middle. But the grafting, the excellence starts from Africa. And if you can build your wealth, if you can build, maybe not necessarily career, because that's a different, systems are different. That's why we talked about the strategy and all of that. You might be able to build a career abroad, but what will suffer will be the work, the lifestyle, like the help, and all of those kind of things. But if you were building a business, I promise you, it's better to start
here
in Africa, building that wealth. That was one of what made me to kind of decide to leave corporate Britain. But more so, it was really my children. They were like the driving force. Because remember, I said I wasn't even thinking about coming back to Nigeria. But it was that family, like looking at how kids were raised and looking at the system and how your child is the property of the system.
Sorry, I don't understand. What does that mean?
When you're outside of Nigeria, your child is a property of the system, especially when they're minors. So there are certain things that you can't do as a parent because there are laws that govern all of these things. And if you step out of those things, they'll take the child off you. That's a different topic.
Okay.
They take the child off you and, so, I mean, all of those things, I just really wanted to give my children a solid foundation so that they can thrive in anywhere in the world. And just as an entrepreneur, I feel like here is the best place to build. If I can make it here and build wealth that I can crisscross around the world, I know that I've made it.
Right. On that note, welcome to Nigeria. Welcome back home. Welcome back home. Right. I think we've covered as much ground as possible. So it's a good time to draw the curtains right now and say thank you guys for watching. And I will see you at the next episode. Bye for now.